Welcome to the 2023 Greenway Impact Series, the State of the Greenway. We're excited to share how we turned your support into dramatic impact. In 2023, our supporters were more generous than ever, giving us the strength to be bold and rise to the next level of impact together. We achieved new records of federal investment. We welcomed a great diversity of walkers and runners and bikers on this beautiful greenway. And together we brought in a lot of spectacular new segments that are being used in a record amount. I'm entering my 15th year with the Greenway Alliance, and it's so exciting to see this project turn from an idea to a reality, enjoyed by 50 million visits. It's outstanding to be working on such a transformational project with you, and we appreciate the support that you've given to our nonprofit as we seek to rise to the next level of impact. To kick off this Impact series, I'm excited to turn it over to Allison Burson, based in Maine.
Thanks, Dennis. Now I'm excited to talk more about new segments of the Greenway that we've officially designated this year. We've got 13 segments totaling almost 20 miles. And what's really wonderful and exciting about these segments is there are fabulous examples of the Greenway goes through urban, suburban, and rural areas. We've got examples of all of them for designation this year, and each are important pieces linking up the Greenway. And a number of them are great examples of the best practices we highlight in our design guide. So it's wonderful to see that on the ground as we're reviewing new designations coming in and getting to work with partners up and down the East Coast to make sure that the Greenway segments are all comfortable and accessible and really pleasant to travel on. I'd love to go into detail and talk at length about every single new segment that we've designated this year. We don't have time for that today, but we do have blog posts and write-ups that show you photos and provide a lot more information about each. So forgive me for going through a highlights list that doesn't go into detail about every single really important and fabulous segment. Some of the highlights include the Upper Charles Trail in Massachusetts. It's in Milford, Sherburne, and Holliston, and will connect into Framingham, downtown Framingham, into the Bruce Freeman Trail. A great example of really urban, protected, high-quality Greenway in DC includes Main Ave Southwest Cycle Track and 8th Street Northeast Cycle Track. We also have the long-awaited section of the Mattapoisett Rail Trail, which was packed and heavily used even before it officially opened. There's also the K&T Trail in Philadelphia, Jarboe Park Trail in Neptune Beach, Florida, Side Path in Boca Raton, Florida, and in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and the Terriffill Connector in Simsbury, Connecticut. Again, I would love to go into more detail on this every segment, but we have other ways for you to find out more, so please follow and look for those resources.
Thanks so much to the communities that have worked tirelessly for many years to make these segments a reality. And I also want to say thank you to our Greenway Council members for design guidance on these designations. In particular, I want to thank our Greenway Council Chair, Andy Clark. And if you're interested in helping on design guidance for the Greenway and joining the Greenway Council, let us know.
Now I'll turn it over to Elliott so he can tell you more about new segments in DC and Virginia and tell you more about his incredible work there.
My name's Elliott Caldwell. I'm the Virginia and Washington, D.C. manager for the East Coast Greenway Alliance, and welcome to beautiful Dangerfield Island. Mount Vernon Trail is right behind me. We are right between National Airport to our north and the city of Alexandria to our south. Here to highlight 3 new segments of the East Coast Greenway in Washington, D.C. and Virginia. The 2 segments in Washington, D.C. that we designated this year are actually both cycle tracks. The Main Avenue Southwest Cycle Track, which connects the Anacostia River Trail towards the National Mall and the monuments in the 15th Street Cycle Track, and the 8th Street Northeast Cycle Track, which connects various sections of the Metropolitan Branch Trail. These 2 cycle track segments add up to about 1 mile of designation in DC proper. And both cycle tracks, the work done on those also included improved sidewalks and crosswalks along those, creating, again, 2 new sections of very usable, bikeable, walkable, rideable, rollable sections of the East Coast Greenway. Other trail that we designated in 2023 was the Mount Vernon Memorial Highway Trail, connecting Route 1 in Fairfax County to the Mount Vernon Historical Site. There was a 2-mile gap where there was no trail, and Fairfax County completed that 2 miles of trail this year, and we designated it over the summer. With that, the East Coast Greenway in Fairfax County, the most populous jurisdiction in the entire Commonwealth of Virginia, the East Coast Greenway is complete, which is a huge win for not just Fairfax County, but for the East Coast Greenway. There's more exciting East Coast Greenway development in the Sunshine State with this Florida SUNTrails program. Talking about that will be our Florida Manager Robert Barto. Take it away, Robert.
Thanks, Elliott. It's awesome to see all of the great work you're doing in DC and Virginia for the East Coast Greenway. Hi, I'm Robert Barto, and I work as the Florida Manager for the East Coast Greenway Alliance. Today, I want to share a groundbreaking piece of legislation that's making waves in the Sunshine State. Enter Senate Bill 106, a game changer for our trail networks. It expands the Shared Use Non-Motorized Trail Network Program, also known as SUNTrails. This program, initially established in 2016, focuses on providing dedicated funding for safe, protected multi-use trails, including crucial segments of the East Coast Greenway. Now, what makes this year so special is the significant boost in funding. The budget has been doubled from $25 to $50 million, with an additional one-time infusion of $200 million. This is a monumental leap forward for trail development in our state. The impact on the Greenway is tremendous. In the current Florida Department of Transportation's 5-year work plan, there are 32 projects in various stages of planning, development, and construction in the SUNTrail network. 17 of these projects are along the Greenway route, more than half. This means a substantial step toward realizing our vision of a connected and accessible East Coast Greenway. None of this would have been possible without the dedicated efforts of our partners and advocates. A big shout out to our state legislators who introduced and voted on this groundbreaking legislation, our friends and partners at FDOT, the State Office of Greenways and Trails, the Florida Greenways and Trails Foundation, and so many others played pivotal roles in getting this passed. It truly takes a village, and we're grateful for each and every contributor. We're filled with excitement about the future of SUNTrails and the East Coast Greenway. The support we've received is a testament to the shared vision of a connected green network for our communities. It's not just about trails, it's about healthier, more sustainable environments. We are excited to highlight the growth of the East Coast Greenway all the way from Maine to Florida. Now let's shift our focus to the southern New England region and take a look at what Bruce Donald's been working on.
I get paid to build bike trails. It's like the coolest thing in the world. I mean, there aren't many of us, that are doing this, and the finished product is special. Connecticut is 54% done as we speak. With the 18 projects that are currently funded in Connecticut, totaling about $96 million, we will be at 64% in about 5 years. It was thought for a long time that these so-called rails to trails were really, linear parks. They were really amenities. Turns out they're much more than that. They really are felt to be transportation corridors at this point. Completing them, particularly in my area in southern New England, but also elsewhere as well, so that they go point to point, city to city, is really, I think, tremendously important. A very deep element when you build a trail, both within and through a municipality, a town, or a city, of community building, where the community comes together and starts to really value the trail as a resource, and it becomes something that ends up really being beloved in the community. I think finally getting New Haven done is really a big deal. New Haven has been trying to get from Yale University campus down to Long Wharf, finally now getting constructed right now as we speak. I think that ultimately a through route has a dramatic amount of impact for something that I haven't talked about yet, which is in fact tourism. New Haven to Hartford to Providence, great example. should be done in the next 5-6 years. It's going to be a huge deal for people wanting to do the weekend or 3 days, but they got to stay somewhere, right? So they got to eat somewhere. They have to fix their bike. They have to spend money. There's an economic imperative that comes from the fact that people from outside of your community are coming into your community. As a practical matter, for someone who wants to invest in these trails is what you're getting back, and what you're getting back, the notoriety of being someone that's helping to build a facility that literally is universally loved. And there's a very deep satisfaction of seeing a project that you have basically, gone from literally a line on a map to suddenly getting built.
It's fantastic to see Bruce's leadership in Connecticut and the incredible progress that he's making. Down here in North Carolina, we've helped to launch the Triangle Trails Initiative in Central North Carolina, where we are trying to close the few remaining gaps in the East Coast Greenway and to develop a true system that's a national model for greenways and trails. We hired the amazing Rashawn King, who is leading the effort throughout this region. He's bringing a great energy and insight to the work, and we're so excited to see the results. The Triangle effort and all of our efforts from Maine to Florida are made possible by generous donors and foundations who give us the strength to really make a difference. Foundations from the Richard King Mellon Foundation and the William Penn Foundation to the JPB Foundation. And up in Maine, the Quimby family. All of these foundations are helping us to support a phenomenal staff that's getting this work done. They're deployed and they're developing the relationships necessary throughout our 3,000-mile corridor to move the vision toward completion. And I applaud every foundation that has the vision to invest in a healthy and sustainable future for all to enjoy. And I also want to give a special thanks to all the individuals who are contributing their hard-earned resources into making the East Coast Greenway a reality for everyone. From membership donations to major support and legacy gifts, which we had a record amount of this year. It all is critical to the success of our organization and, most importantly, to the success of our project. And one element of this, we often get support for a program, for the Triangle, for a state, for a region. But it's really important to get unrestricted funds as well. It helps our organization operate efficiently and smoothly to achieve our mission. We've risen to new heights together with the record impact that we've made in 2023. And now we have the opportunity to really move toward transformation in 2024. So I ask you to consider giving this end of year season and to consider continuing your giving in the new year. As an election year, 2024 will be a year marked by division at times. It's important for us to be a force of connection, to bring people together, to bring communities together, and to achieve the common good together. We turn donations into the East Coast Greenway Alliance into investment in the completion of the East Coast Greenway vision. Historically, our organization has turned every dollar into $100 of public investment to make this happen. This past year was no exception. We achieved record federal support. And I'll turn it over to Niles to give you those details.
Thank you, Dennis, for sharing the impact that funding has on our work. I'm Niles Barnes, Deputy Director of the East Coast Greenway Alliance, and I'm excited to talk about the federal funding wins that we were able to secure this year with our team. In 2023, we continued our efforts to secure federal, state, and local funding to build the Greenway and made some really significant breakthroughs. I'm going to share two specific highlights focused on the federal funding success that we had. The first major success story is the record of $70 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, often referred to as the RAISE program. 7 East Coast Greenway projects supported by Alliance staff members in conjunction with our state and local partners were awarded RAISE funding, including those in Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Florida. The second major funding success story I want to highlight are the 10 different East Coast Greenway projects that will be supported by a record $22.5 million in congressionally directed spending in 2023. These awards are often referred to as congressional earmarks, and they're going to help fund projects from Maine to Florida. Special thank you to all of the senators and representatives who supported these projects in Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, and Florida. Details about all of these projects can be found on our website. As important as securing these funds are, it is extra important that these projects get developed in a timely manner. We are all too familiar with projects that have languished after receiving funding and have delayed in terms of getting planned and developed. It is for that reason that in 2024, we will be focused on ensuring that these projects stay on schedule and get developed in a timely manner. The work of our staff and partners in securing these RAISE grants and these congressionally directed spending allocations is critically important to the planning and design and construction of East Coast Greenway segments. But it's also really important to distinguish that from the funding to fund the East Coast Greenway Alliance nonprofit organization. These funds from RAISE and the congressional earmarks are going directly into the planning and development of Greenway segments. And that's why it is so important that folks donate and support the East Coast Greenway Alliance and our staff efforts working with our partners to get this public money to build the trail. Thank you for supporting the work of the East Coast Greenway. Our work would not be possible without the support of our Board of Trustees. Let's take a look at one of our Board of Trustees members, Regina Yan, who biked the entire East Coast Greenway in 2021.
My name is Regina Yan, and I am a board member on the East Coast Greenway Alliance. So I didn't start cycling until relatively recently. When the pandemic started, I realized I didn't have a way to get around because I didn't feel comfortable taking public transportation and I didn't have a car. And when I went back home to visit my family, I found my sister's old bicycle in our garage and on a whim decided to take it to the grocery store when I needed to get some food. And it just sparked this moment of, oh wow, I can take this anywhere and I can go wherever I need to go. I was inspired to bike the East Coast Greenway, partly a pandemic inspired desire to do something and to challenge myself, push myself out of my comfort zone. So some key high moments were all the people I met. I think the individuals brought a lot of color and joy and meaningful interactions to the trip. Being able to see a slice of the United States from the New England culture in Maine all the way down to the island vibes in Key West and then everything in between, certainly a highlight. But I also think that looking back, the lows weren't even that bad. It was just when I'm in this intense journey and I'm reflecting all day long, all the tough moments feel especially difficult. Sometimes torrential downpour got a little too hard, and because I was on a tight schedule due to my limited number of days I could take off work, I couldn't take any rest days. So I think feeling like I needed to keep going no matter what caused a little bit of stress. Being able to meet new people and see old friends made the trip a lot more meaningful. It didn't feel like I was just passing through a city. It felt like I was getting to know what was important in the community. And when I went through Hartford, I stayed with a warm showers host who introduced me to the cycling community and the community bike shop he was managing. Charleston isn't just a port city that I bike through. Now it's the place where I spent the night on a boat in the marina and hung out with these Canadians who are about to sail the entire world. New York is not just a big metropolitan city. It is where I got to reconnect with one of my best friends and eat the best pizza in the city. I think being able to meet people along the way connects me more to the communities I'm biking through and makes the whole experience a lot more meaningful. I'm very surprised by how many views I've gotten. When I made the video, it was meant to be a way for me to share my experience in a storytelling way to my friends and family, and also have a way for myself to reflect on the trip. Biking has been a very individual experience for me. My Greenway trip was solo. I used biking mainly for commuting purposes, but after completing the East Coast Greenway and meeting all of the individuals and getting a glimpse of the cycling communities in the different cities I passed through, I realized how much of a community-based experience cycling can be. So I wanted to get more involved in the Greenway to see how I can grow these efforts to make the Greenway something that everyone can use. I've been trying to use social media and artwork that I'm developing to raise awareness about the Greenway. I have been doing a bit of digital nomading in the Midwest and the West Coast, and seeing how communities like San Francisco, where I am living currently, approach their bike pedestrian accessibility. So I am on a personal growth phase of learning about how to be my best self when it comes to bike advocacy and seeing where that goes. So biking the East Coast Greenway changed my life. I literally did not even think about biking before the pandemic, and now it's one of the biggest parts of my identity. And I want everybody to have the same access and same experiences if this is what they want. And for that to happen, the Greenway needs to be able to grow and develop these trails. So that is why it's important to donate to the East Coast Greenway Alliance.
We're so thankful to have outstanding board members like Regina, who bring their energy, their art, and their insight as a through rider of the whole East Coast Greenway to this work. Thank you for tuning in today. It was great to hear from our incredible staff, from Robert, Elliott, Niles, and Allison, Bruce. These are the people that are working hard thanks to your support. We have a long way to go, but we've made great progress toward our goals. Now, as we look into 2024, it's clear that the climate needs us to step up. Our mental health, our physical health for our country, we need to step up. I hope you're inspired today, and I hope you consider donating. Go to greenway.org, can support and get involved. Let's complete this East Coast Greenway together. And if you'd like a deeper dive, next week we'll have a new episode, Enhancing the Greenway Experience, where we'll go into the work a little more and how we're gonna make this a world-class Greenway for 3,000 miles, from the Moose to the Manatee. So together, let's double down. Together, let's rise to the challenges. Let's make 2024 an incredible year of transformational impact.